Okay, so at this point I've actually tried to make this video 7,000 times, which is a coincidence really, because it's probably the same amount of questions Kevin has asked by this point in the lesson, and the same number of versions of USB web server Dean has on his computer. So there you go. Anyway, I'm gonna bomb through this, like, to be fair, because I really don't want to make any more mistakes, and I tend to do them when I'm trying to think about it too much. Also, the audio on this is fairly bad, but I know it's only gone to you. I'm going to rip it out and put some new stuff in, so yeah, let's crack on with it. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to use those databases we created using PHP. We're going to pull that information out and we're going to display it. It is actually split into a couple of tasks. This is just to make it easier on you, and also because if the video gets too long, there's more chance of me making a mistake. Alright, so if you have any critiques about these videos, you're more than welcome to keep them to yourself, because I don't care. Okay, so here is what we're starting with. It's a basic file structure, and these three folders are what you downloaded from Zerb. So they're your foundation CSS, that's your blank images folder, and this is your JavaScript folder. Okay, so what we're going to add to that is we're going to create a new folder. So this should be a starting point, and we're going to call this new folder includes. And then what we're also going to do is, if you go on Moodle under the web application section, you can find a file called basictable.html. I want you to grab that and I want you to put it in this folder, basictable.html. Okay, so just going to move this over here. And then what we'll do is, obviously the purpose of these videos is so you can go through them at your own pace, and view them, you know, pause them, that sort of thing. So we just have a look what this basic table looks like in HTML. It looks like this. Like I said, its name says it all. It's a basic table. Title, table headers, and then 3 rows of content, which will change. But that is going to be our basic index page for the minute, okay? So I'm just going to open up that thing again, and I'm going to rename this index.php. So we're not working in static HTML anymore, we're going to do some PHP. That is literally rubbish, so just ignore that, okay? So this is your starting point file structure that you should work with, that you should be working with, should be starting from. Okay, another thing we're going to look at is my database. Yours will be a bit more simple than this. This is my database here. It's called CityDB, and I have 3 tables: city, country, and country language. For the purpose of these exercises, we're only going to be working with country, and I'm probably only going to be working with these 4 columns: code, name, continent, and region. But obviously you'll have 4 similar things in your database, so just select whatever you'd like to use, but we are getting a bit ahead of myself. So what we're going to do is we are going to open Notepad++, and we are going to get that index.php we just downloaded and renamed it index.php. We're going to bang it in here so we can see it. So that web page I just showed you, this is what it looks like in code. It's a HTML5 document, struggled to say that, as determined by the top up here. It's got a head and a body, just like all HTML documents have. Meta tags in its head, the title, which goes in the tab, you know, the tab in your web browser, that should be changed to whatever. So Dean's Old Rope, your links to your style sheet, your H1 tag, which will be your main title that you saw displayed, and then if I scroll down, you've got your table content. So your table is your whole thing, your table header or T-head, and your table body or T-body. So you can see table head, you've got your content rows, your header rows, and then in your body you've got your content rows. Okay, brilliant. So what we're going to do now is we are going to utilize that new includes folder we built. So we're going to go File, New. We're instantly going to save this file as connection.php. And we're going to save it in the includes folder. Cool. So this is going to be our first PHP. Your includes folder isn't really going to be for files that people see. It's going to be for sort of more useful snippets of PHP that we're going to utilize. All the PHP we write today is a bit basic. It's not the prettiest, it's not the most efficient, but it is probably the simplest to follow for the purpose. Okay, so we're going to stick with this, and then as we all become awesome at PHP, we're going to expand on that. Alright, so open and close your PHP tags as I've done there. And then we are going to create a new variable with the $sign. We're going to call that variable DB, and that stands for database, as you might have guessed. And basically what we're going to say that this variable is a set of connection DL, so the connection for our database. You can find this in your USB web server information. It will be called something like root, or the password will be root. But we're going to say DB is equal to a new PDO object, which is excellent. And then we're going to do in brackets, no, that's totally wrong. We're going to do brackets, quotation marks, and end it with a semicolon, because we end everything, every line in PHP with a semicolon, 9 times out of 10. And we are going to put some connection strings in here. I'm just going to copy and paste them for ease of use. So what are we saying here? We're saying the new PDO object and then giving it some information. We're saying it's a MySQL database because it is, that's the driver. We're saying that the host is equal to this. Okay, so for the purpose of you can probably just write localhost, which is brilliant. Do that if you want to. I've just got the IP in there. The DB name, so my database is called C153-CityDB, and that's a catchy name. And then I've also got my username is exactly the same, and this is my password. So it goes host, which will be localhost for you, host equals localhost, DB name equals the name of your database. This first option here, that's your username, your database username, and the second one is your database password. Okay, so host, database name, username, password. Boom. Right, now that in its most basic form is a connection to the database, or the ability to connect to a database. But it's fairly basic, that, and if it doesn't work, we don't know why it hasn't worked, or we don't know what's wrong, or so it's not brilliant. So what we're going to do, and this is according to the PHP manual, which is something that you can find online and tells you good practice to use PHP, updates, things that's getting depreciated. Anyway, so we're going to use a try function. So we're going to say try, and then we're going to open and close curly brackets, and we're going to put this line that we just did, and we're going to put it in here. Now we're going to delete that one because we don't like duplicating. So we're going to say try and do this, right? So try and do this, here's your details, can you do that? If you can't do that, we want to do something, and we want to catch that. Just like if you drop something, you want to catch it, we want to catch it. And we want to say catch, and we want to say use the PDO exception. And let's create a variable called E. I'll put it in a variable called E. And then in here, I'm just going to copy and paste this over so it's a bit quicker, so you're not watching like a 12-minute video. We're going to say echo out the variable E as we can get with get message. This is a bit of HTML we're echoing out here, so if there's more than one, it breaks, it line breaks. And then stop, die. Okay, so all in all, this little snippet of PHP is saying, alright, I want you to try and do this. If that works, brilliant. If not, can you catch it and display an error message? Again, there are things I could say why this is wrong, but just for the purpose, let's presume that that's doing that. Okay, so this is just giving it its connection details, and we're going to say echo it worked. Actually, nothing's working, but what we're saying here is try, do this, and let's seeing if it gets to this point here. So if it gets through that and nothing's breaking, it should echo out, it works. It worked. Save that. Brilliant. So for the purpose of mine, I'm actually using a live server. So I'm connected to, so this is my local files, so I'm going to refresh them. And I'm going to grab all of that and I'm going to put it over here onto my live server. Excellent. So now I just want to navigate to that file to see if I can get that it worked message. So that is the local copy. So I know live it's at let's develop.it/cdb, and I know it's in my includes folder, and I know it's called connection PHP. Can you tell that I've done this before as it's popping up? It worked. Brilliant. So there you go. So I know that I'm not hitting that error, and I know that it's going underneath. Okay. So I know that it's trying to do this. It's getting to that and not finding any errors, and then it's echoing out. It worked. Brilliant. Okay. So that is nearly the end. What I want you to do though is I want you to, once you've got that it worked display, I want you to just delete this echo because it's not very neat. Okay, what else you can do is you can comment in PHP. So if I put // it will comment a line out, so it doesn't listen to it, but it's a useful tool if you want to make notes on your code. In industry, if you write something and somebody else has to understand it, isn't again something useful. So I could put this line holds all my database connection details. Again, that wouldn't be very safe. I suppose it'd be fine because it'd be server side, but this just means that when you look through back through your code when you're writing stuff, you'll know what each line does. So try and get into the habit of commenting your code while you're learning. Also try and get into the habit of leaving your code fairly well formatted. So I'm just going to save that. I've deleted that echo, and it should be synced, but it's not. I'm just going to re-upload that connection for the file. So now I know it's deleted because when I refresh, it's blank because I've removed that echo. Brilliant. Okay, so that is the end point of that. I'm going to stop the video there. That can be task 1. And we'll move on to task 2 shortly. Excellent.